Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. I think it's episode 256. At least that's what I put up in the old information. Didn't look back through me book. But to tell me if it isn't, or whether it is, whether they don't know either, is Lucy.
Not a clue.
And Adam.
No idea.
It is 256.
Hey.
Also, hello! I peeked the mic. I said I wasn't going to, and then I did the yell thing without moving away from the mic.
It's easy to do.
Because I am not a professional.
I mean, are any of us?
No.
I mean, in some capacities, we are professionals.
I mean, you literally have a
things.
professional designation, right?
That's true. Yes,
Yeah,
I do. Yes.
Ben's a professional. I'm not. And you are. You're like a doctor.
I'm not a
I'm
professional. I am a doctor.
I'm just a lackey.
Nice. Let's open up some beers and we will get into what we do every week and talk about some video games or the world of video games, depending on what we want to talk about this week. 4 beers. I'm itching for one. I haven't had one yet today, so I'm going to open up first. I'm going to drink a collaboration beer.
I'm going to drink.
Just drink. I'm going to open up a collaboration between Beak and Northern Monk. This is Wool. It's a double IPA at 8.5%. It tells me, what does it tell me? Some things. An ode to our Leeds roots. This DIPA was brewed in collaboration with our old friends at Northern Monk using a combination of Citra, Sabro and Eldorado hops. Hazy, fluffy and silky smooth with mushy, overripe flavours of mango, rum punch, ooh, and berry pavlova. That's an interesting combination of flavours. That is the flavour text. It was packed on the 15th of March. Best before is in September, so super fresh. About a week old.
Mm-hmm.
Happy with that. I'm going to crack this one open. Aadil, we'll come to you next. What are you
It's
going
me.
to drink this evening?
I'm drinking something from very close to home. It is the newer Arbor West Coast IPA called Dank Scopio. And it says it is 7% alcohol ABV, 568 mils. A full pint. Oh, wow. Just so you know, I don't know why, but it looks real blue on the camera. It is a fierce purple.
Yes.
It's a great rich purple. I'm very sad that it looks blue. It also says more tech troubles for me. Anyway, West Coast IPA brewed with Columbus and Galaxy hot side and dry hopped with Columbus, Simcoe, and Mosaic cryo hops. And that is all it says. But I have had it for over a week and have avoided drinking it, which was difficult.
That's fair. I have had this. I had this 2 weeks ago now, maybe a week ago. Just as one of my little weekend Arbor binges, because the place down the road has been selling them for 3 for like £9.50 or something, or 3 for £10. So I've been picking them up quite regularly. And I think from looking at the Arbor socials, someone messaged them and said, "Is this meant to be Dank Scopio?" From the Simpsons fame. And they alluded to yes. So perhaps Scopio is a typo, though they didn't actually say it was. But
limited run 10.
Collector's item.
Yes.
But, yeah, I got the Simpsons reference. I just didn't realise how much better they are. That's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I just looked at Scopio. I'm like, well, unless there's like a Scopio hop I'm not familiar with, that's an odd thing.
Lucy, are you going to have a beer this evening?
I am, and I'm also staying local.
Ooh, I see.
This may be the only beer I have today. We'll see how it goes. Oh, it's very chilly, so if I'm thinking of having another one, I might need to take that out of the fridge. This is from Burning Soul, and it's 0121 Brew 1.
Oh.
0121 being a the what do they call it? Local telephone call code for Birmingham.
Okay.
Oh, it's a Brew 1 hopped IPA, 7%. It's a big, heavily hopped IPA brewed with recently released American Brew 1 hops. Brewed in collaboration with our friends at Independent Birmingham, this beer is a nod to all the independent businesses that make the heart of the country great. Flavor text is pineapple, tropical fruit, bright.
Nice.
Yeah, 7% IPA. I haven't had this. This is a new one. Yeah, it was collab. It's very, very recent. Don't know if I can see when it was canned, so don't know if I have you beat Ben on who's got the
like
newest
2
beer.
days old or something. When did you go? About 2 days ago, you went to Burning Soul?
Yeah,
Saturday?
Saturday. So what is time? What's that? 4 days ago.
4 billion days ago in this current climate.
Yeah.
Or 2 minutes ago.
It's got some nice art. I don't know if you can see.
Some lovely buildings.
The old bull ring in there.
Nice. The old Digbeth landscape. Cityscape.
The new bull ring.
Ginormous bull ring, yeah. Nice. I remember. I can't remember. I remember, but not how long ago, that you went back to Burning Soul and picked and had a couple of beers that you'd already had by them and did so on the episode, maybe 10-ish episodes ago, something like that, roughly. So are they pumping out new beers, or is it sort of a slower process?
It's a bit slower, other than this collab one, because I went there on Saturday and he was like, no point kegging all this new, brewing, new batch and letting it go to waste. So,
yeah.
I mean, the sooner things open up, the better it will be for everybody, really. So, not long to go. Hopefully, they'll get people in droves on the 12th. Safe droves. Safe, not David droves. I'm not going to say anything, but it smells delightful.
Good. I'll come back to the Beak Northern Monk. DIPA. It's got a lovely nose. It hit me as soon as I cracked the can and started pouring. It's a soft nose, but it's big. A little bit of tropical fruit, but as they were saying, it's definitely that kind of ripe mango. You get that straight away off the nose. And a bit of a don't know, something else. You lot can see. That flavour. It is hazy. It's a little bit bronzier than it comes up on the camera, but it's kind of a dull colour. That definitely comes across. It's definitely sort of like a solid, quite dull coloured beer. A little bit of head on it. That's dissipated really, really quickly, but it's a lovely flavour. Just like the nose, very, very full, soft but strong. And it does have, definitely hits you straight away with kind of that overripe melon. And that kind of sits there holding the whole of this beer together. And now, after the other flavours have kind of gone away, it's that melon that sticks around. They're saying something about berry pavlova as well. And I'm not quite getting that. There's definitely a sweetness, like a berry sweetness in there. And there is a little bit of a creaminess to this as well. Does it have oats? Yes, it does have malted oats, flaked wheat, malted barley. That's all they tell me for those things. But yeah, there's this sweetness to it, and I don't know if it's that berry pavlova or whether it is berries. They said about rum as well, and there is a slight kind of alcohol heat from it as well, kind of, which matches quite well and fits in quite well with that ripe mango. You can see how the combination of these does make it feel like there is a little bit of an alcohol-y kind of burn to it, very soft, and not an alcohol burn, but just that slight feeling of it mashed in with all of this mango and all of these berry sort of flavours that I'm getting from it. That's far too easy. That's ridiculous. It's not kind of, that ripe mango matched well with that sweetness isn't taking it down that kind of, oniony kind of way. It doesn't feel like it's too sort of dank, leading it into sort of like a stewed kind of fruits flavour. Very much sits on that ripe mango sweetness, and then back into that mango again, which is nice. Doesn't overstay its welcome. Very, very easy. That alcohol, that slight burn on it does suggest that it is a little bit bigger, and it is 8.5%. But yeah, this is really good.
Nice. I've been looking to try and acquire some Beak Brewery beers. So we'll see. See if I get my hands on
I did have another one from them the other day, which I think was called Locals. So it's got a slightly different can design to it. So it was a photo, and I think Locals is like they're one of their standard IPAs where they're mixing up the batches every now and again and changing things a little bit, but they're matching it with sort of, you know, for this one, a local photographer who'd taken the photos and things like that, which seems really, really nice. And I think I've only ever had those two and whatever their standard kind of IPA is, which was also in the bottle shop, but I've had it a couple of times now with the people holding bottles, the cartoony people holding bottles on the can.
Right.
But yeah, everything so far from them has been very, very solid. Aadil, we'll come to you.
It's me. So you can't trust the color, although it's pretty orangey. It's a little less yellow than you see, but of course my whole room looks yellow lighting. It poured with about like a half finger's worth of head that stayed until about halfway through your tasting notes, Ben, and then I topped it up with the rest of the 10.
Yep.
Immediately you get this lovely, lovely tropical waft with citrus. Just on the pour. On the nose, there's a bit of a pininess as well, which is really nice. It goes really well with the tropical and slightly citrusy nose. It's really refreshing. Ooh. That is an Arbor beer. It's creamier than I thought. I think that's where the 7% is living, because it certainly isn't living in the taste. Oh, there's a nice little bit of biscuitiness on the finish. That I didn't get on my first sip. When you saw that the pour was like a perfect pint, and so I've been like not wanting to spill on myself, taking small sips.
We wobble it in front of the camera a little bit and just
sloshing it. So it's got that citrus is coming out more grapefruity than it was on the nose. And then it's got this underlying sort of foundation of pininess that, as the sort of as the grapefruit fades, you notice the pininess, and then the biscuitiness of the malt sort of come in, and then they leave, and you're left with oddly a biscuity pininess, I would say, on the finish. That's quite long. I think, again, because of that 7%, that's very hard to spot right away. But the whole thing is just really refreshing. Yeah, there's like, I almost want to say it's got a bit of a zestiness in the citrus there, making it a bit sharper. And then that leads into the more bitter grapefruitiness, and then again this like piney, biscuity interplay at the end, which is really, really tasty. This is 7% West Coast IPA. I was thinking, I can pretend it's summerish, but this is actually like an ideal balance of like more sort of wintry, that the malts being a little more forward than you can have in a West Coast IPA. It makes it a fantastic spring beer. It's giving you that, like I said, that sharp zestiness of the citrus, makes you think nice weather. Want to sit and be in the sun, but it has that biscuitiness on the back that sort of is like, yes, but the air is brisk. This is an excellent beer. I really like it.
Good, nice.
Did you have any lingering thoughts from a couple weeks ago?
No, I think I don't know whether, again, I had it a couple of weeks ago, whether it was a little more freshly brewed. I think the note I would have said that maybe you haven't mentioned much is dank. from the title, that it felt like you hit those tropical notes, felt that maltiness coming in with that piney finish, but that isn't quite the finish. There was also then this dankness that sort of set in with it as well, a very, very hoppy sort of dankness, not quite weedy, but a bit more sort of on the hoppy side of that dankness, and yeah, that faded reasonably and left a nice sort of bitter, piney finish, exactly as you're sort of saying. But I guess maybe mine was a little more green, so I got a bit more of that hop burn, a bit more of that dank note from it, perhaps. So yeah, good, nice,
excellent.
Lucy, how's the Burning Soul?
Not sure yet.
Oh, looks nice.
Yeah, it's a little murky. It's probably copper in color. Put a nice, like 2-finger solid white head when I first poured it. Yeah, it's a good looking beer. Yeah, even though it's been sitting for a while, still getting those tropical notes.
Nice. But the head on it looks very, very creamy, much more than either Aadil or mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Once I pour a little bit more into it, I'll try and hold it up to the camera, but for another sip.
Always.
It's definitely a bit too cold than I prefer at the moment. So probably not getting all the flavour profile from it right now, but good beer.
Nice.
Good beer. That's it.
good beer is an excellent review.
No, it's really well balanced. You are getting a little bit of maltiness, a little bit of bitterness at the end. Still getting those fruits, and I imagine those fruit flavours will just come out even more once it warms up a bit. Really, it's quite crisp as well. It's really crisp, very hoppy. As you were saying, Aadil, like this is what you want in summer. This is like going towards summer beer territory. 7%. It's you can taste there's a bit of alcohol in there, so I'd probably say 7% is. You might think it's a bit lighter, but you can see 7%. It's not doing any voodoo where it's like, oh my gosh, this tastes like a 3% beer. But yeah, it's just really well rounded and balanced. Like, it's got everything going on, everything that you want from a IPA. You got that fruitiness, you got the bitterness, you got a bit of malt. Yeah, it's a cracking beer.
Perfect.
There's not really much to say. Probably it's just a really good, well balanced beer. It's not doing anything different. It's just doing the IPA-ness, because I want to bring that back, just very competently and very well.
Good.
I might let it sit for a bit, because as I say, I want to enjoy it when it's a bit warmer, and then I might have some more thoughts, but good first impression.
Nice. We'll return to it just before we crack into those second beers, if you've still got a little bit left of it on the hour. So there are our beers. We're going to sit, enjoy them, and talk about the games that we've been playing, or whatever takes our fancy in the gaming space. Perhaps we can start this week, as we did last week, with the game that we have all played, which is called Sizeable. And
Yes.
It is a hidden object game, but it's a bit more of a puzzly hidden object game in comparison.
Much more dynamic.
Absolutely. In comparison to the others that we'd previously spoken about last week, and what was the other one? Tiny Lands. Again, we referred back to last week. Yes. Lucy, you went to the developer and very kindly got codes for all of us, which the developer, again, very kindly provided. Just before we jump into the game, what made you kind of think that you wanted to pick this game up, really? What kind of sold it to you as a game you wanted to try?
Well, I think that's actually pretty good jumping off point, because there is a demo that you can download on Steam.
Yeah.
And there's also a demo on, oh gosh, what's the name of that site?
Itch.io?
Basically, it might be an itch.io demo, but there's also a demo on. I'll find the name of the website, but it's basically how I want Google Stadia to work.
Oh, right. Yeah, now I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's called Trail, TRAIL, .gg. So stick that in a browser. There's only a few games on there that you can play demos for. This is one of them. But yeah, you can literally just, there's no downloading. You can just literally just hop into the demo and give it a try. But yeah, I played the demo last year. And I think it was part of one of the Steam, extravaganzas when they had like 600 demos for people to try. But yeah, as you guys said, it's like a hidden object game, and it's like perfect comfort cup of tea games. But yeah, it is much more dynamic. It has that extra dimension of puzzle solving. You are looking for these objects within the world, but you have to, do certain steps, resize these objects in order to find these three objects, which is just like three pillars in each world. And it gives you a little clue as to, in the top left-hand corner, as to what you're probably going to have to be clicking on, what you're probably going to have to be interacting with to try and get those different pillars to appear in the world. And I just think it's a really smartly done, yes, hidden object game, but he's put more layers into it to make it more compelling than just, clicking on a screen, which, not to be disparaging towards the other games that we've played recently, because we've really enjoyed them, but this just has that extra layer of thought and puzzle to it, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it's much less of a Zen. I mean, I do like the soundtrack on this as well.
Yeah,
it was less of a Zen experience and more of a, right, how do I do this? Right, because it's more interactive and more dynamic. I think you're just less likely to sort of sit back on your laurels during it, which is why I think Ben and I both just kind of one-shotted it. It's 21 levels.
Yeah, I've been more piecemeal because I'm just I find myself with games like this. It's just like, okay, I can see there's 21 levels. I don't want to run out like in the space of like an hour. I want to have this relaxing experience over time, so I can just enjoy it and savor it.
So just to go off of your description, right? The main dynamic is you can basically certain objects in the world can also be scaled up or down about 3 or 4 different sizes.
Yeah, I think it's 3.
Yeah. And so the puzzles have to do with that. Each of the 21 stages is themed. Like there's a theme park. Boy, that's a great example, Aadil. Theme park theme isn't confusing.
The water one.
There's a water one, and so in the top left there'll be 3 icons and sort of like, I think they're hexagons. It doesn't matter. And they're like, so in the water one, it'll be like a whale and a ship and something else in the water that you find. I'm not good at this, making things up on the spot today. It's been a day. But yeah, so it's like these 3 icons, and then you can be like, okay, so one of these pillars has to do with figuring out how to jumble the world around the ship, around the whale. And it's like some of the puzzles are really cool because you've got like at least one part of the game. I can't remember if a pillar was in there, but it's basically you end up getting a bottle out of like a message in a bottle, and then you shrink the bottle and it pops the cork out, and then you grab the cork and you make it as big as you can so you can put it in the whale's blowhole, so the whale has to open its mouth to breathe. And it's that type of dynamic where it's intricate parts, and the scale of what you reveal is not necessarily immediately the right scale of what you're doing. And so and it's often 2 or 3 moves per pillar, I guess, to put it, like, manipulate the world in one way, then take that manipulation, do it again and again, and then you get a pillar. You do that 3 times per level, times 7 levels plus 4 bonus levels.
And
But
having those only specified like number of different sizes means it's like there's only you can figure it out. You can do like
brute force.
Brute force. And yes, in quotations, brute force, because it doesn't feel like that. It feels like even though you are trying, okay, which size is going to work, it does feel responsive and intuitive and not making you feel like a complete idiot. It makes you feel smart for getting these puzzles right, which is
absolutely
always a hard balance. But I just think this game nails it.
Completely.
That's why I didn't want to let go.
Before I go into a little bit, the developer is Ambroos. Or
Yes.
Ambroos?
Yes.
Double O. By Business Goose Studios, which is an excellent name for a publisher. But to build off of that idea of the levels and the puzzles, there are definitely some that stood out to me more for their kind of complexity around things. And one of those was this, not quite a time travel level, but a level where you get to switch between different dioramas. It's not just doing stuff around the same diorama. You switch between 3 different dioramas, and you can take some items out of one to then go into the other, and that's how the puzzle works. You have to manipulate one to get something to then use it somewhere else. And not all of the levels are like that. Some of them have a nice simplicity to them. One was drop a hammer on this thing, it breaks, and there's the pillar for you. So there's some simplicity to it, but there's also a little bit of a bit more complexity to some of these, and that definitely builds towards the later sort of stages. And I really enjoyed those slightly more complex levels. I had to have those simple levels to understand the notion of what the game wanted me to do to find some of these things. And I think whilst you and I had all sort of bashed it out in one sitting, it's very different to at least how I played the other couple of games we've talked about, which, as Lucy's played this, was very piecemeal for me. It's like, okay, go on, do one sort of level, chill out with the lovely kind of music to it, find those differences in Tiny Lands or
The
Out of
things.
sight.
what was the other one called?
Out of sight.
Out of
Out of
Sight.
Sight.
Yes.
There's a lot to keep track of.
And again, Out of Sight was slightly different in its in the way that it kind of procedurally put the different, the items that you had to find in different sort of places, as we kind of discovered through our chat. But I think with this one, it keeps your mind kind of ticking. It isn't just have a look and do these things. It gets you more involved with what you're actually looking to do, which is really good. And I think that shorter kind of runtime for it as well, because I think this is the one I've bashed out in the shortest amount of time, and being able to sit there in one sitting and do it, it is perfectly sized for the type of game it is, to just hit out, understand the language, be able to kind of get through it, feel really satisfied with those more complex levels.
They've got a roadmap of new levels coming, so for free, which is nuts. And this will be my regular drug by the looks of it.
I mean, to be honest, that roadmap was why I was like, I think I'm okay with going through this. But to build off what Ben was saying, this type of thing is way more the way my brain vibrates. This is like my jam, like that dynamic shifting parts, but very like structure. Like there's a structure here. I need to do this. There's 3 layers, etc. Like I wanted to keep going. I did at each level. I was like, cool, another one. I want to do it. Cool, yeah. While it's not to say the other types aren't, it's just like, boy, did this just get me the right way. And to build on what Ben was saying with some of those later levels, boy, did they feel like kind of like beta tests of different ways of really stretching. It reminded me kind of like a couple of those levels reminded me of like there's the brain stretching of like what the golf, where it's like there's the basic premise of golf. We're not going to change that premise, but we're going to see how much we can shift around. And I feel like with the it was like flying cars, the Gorgon and mirrors, and dinosaurs and a volcano. That like 3 diorama thing where you basically use an object that has the three different sizes to shift between the levels, and you can move a thing between those, and you have to. That felt like we definitely want to play with the same puzzle, having to move things between layers. And I was like, and I just looked at it, I'm like, oh, in 5 levels, that version's going to be like really cool, where like, you know, in the standard pacing. And then one of the other, I think it's the last level, has like a penguin.
Yes.
And you basically, they've got a really interesting way of making motion happen by basically having a thing that will move, like a golf ball or a penguin on ice on its stomach, and you just make a thing behind it bigger such that it pushes it. And then, but the penguin one, in order to do all the things you need to do,
I want to get that.
I'm just gonna say, you need to manipulate things dynamically. You can't just do one thing to solve the puzzle. So you have to like treat the motion as it happens, which I was like, oh, I'm all here for it. And so that's what's got me really excited, because that's like an entirely different class of puzzles, right?
Yeah, because it's physicsy. Yeah, it's not just, you know.
But it's also like literally dynamic. It's not just like that. Then you can't just kind of brute force it in the same way. You have to get the flow and the timing right, which means you have to sort of plan, or at least the brute force is more nuanced, because you're going to be like, I think I need it over here. This does this, then I do this, then I do this. Now it's in the right region. Now what do I do? You know, like, and so I'm really pumped about that. Also, we forgot to mention the turtles.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The secret turtles, like the secret ducks.
Yes, and that's why I wanted to mention it, because in Out of Sight there were random ducks that you would just click on, and then one of the achievements is, did you find all the ducks? And in this game, it's like you have the 3 pillars and you have the turtle up in the top right. Did you find the turtle? And often it's like on the way to the pillars you'll get the turtle, but a couple levels it's not, and you're like, I had this moment where it's like, Stubborn, remember? Stubborn puzzle game. I was just like, can't, because the pillars have to be at the right scale to trigger, which means you can put them in place but small, and then look for the turtle, and then just like go over to it, and then whoop, and then you finish the level, which is very satisfying when you're like, aha, I'm ready for you. You're already in place. But yeah, there's a couple moments where it's like, done all the things except the turtle. There are 4 objects of each level, 3 pillars and a turtle. I will find this turtle.
You have to get.
And there's only 1 or 2 that I really struggled with. I think what I really liked about this game was it wasn't easy, but it wasn't super difficult. It's not like a hidden object game where there's like a couple things that are like, you don't need to do them to pass. There's just going to be a real tough thing because we can do the real tough. This was everything was sort of the same parameter of difficulty. You kind of get it, and it wasn't super easy, but you could get there. Yeah. The whole game is of the same. It didn't have any weird difficulty ramps or stops, which I really appreciate, because I especially when you're in the midst of developing these things, I could see it being quite difficult to keep yourself grounded because you're so used to these mechanics.
Yeah.
And again, with these like later levels where they start hinting at what they might do in the future, or how they could stretch the game, all those hints were still within the same difficulty level. It was just like, oh, stretch your brain a little bit this way, and then you're doing the thing.
Well, that's the hallmarks of finding a good central mechanic and building a good puzzle game that ramps around it. Like, you know, as you say, using the confinements of that mechanic, but then trying to expand it and pull it and push it and manipulate it in different ways, which still makes sense to the players. So.
Yeah. The term sort of, as you said, Aadil, they feel like beta levels. it almost seems like they built kind of a certain amount of these levels using that central mechanic, and then just had that spark of the idea and went, what if we can move things by manipulating these objects, and then started to play around with that? Or what if we can shift the whole scene into something? And you see that as well. There's some levels where you change between seasons, and it will change the landscape as well, which is really clever, because there's different ways of being able to manipulate and look at those levels based upon the changing seasons, or changing an object which changes the time of day, and those sorts of things, which I thought worked very, very well. And I kind of, as my final thought, just to jump into what Aadil said, very much appreciate that kind of difficulty level to it, or lack of. It's complex in its simplicity, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like one of the things about Tiny Lands was that some of the things that were different between the two scenes were very, very small differences. So there was one with a couple of trains and a big kind of and a house. I'm looking around the house thinking, is there anything there? And actually the one I missed was this window was slightly over, like really just not very different at all, just a little bit. And it's there the whole time. You know, the gap between the two windows on one is this, and then it's this on the other one, and didn't appreciate that. But definitely with
well, I mean,
well, it depends what sort of person you are. Like, some people love finding the key in Where's Wally, and I just hate it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the key to these games, and where I struggle with my stubbornness is my stubborn completionist. I didn't go back to Tiny Lands because of things like that in levels, and I think I did end up going forward a couple times, mostly just because I was like, I should see more, just because I can't find this one thing, right? But especially for those who take it more casual, in the sense of not being stubborn, not casual in the sense of
not obsessive,
loose, but also just realizing you I loop back to these games usually, like in the right hidden object games. It's like at some point my brain can't do the pattern match, can't find the thing. I come back a couple hours later, the next day, and then I do it again. Where my stubbornness comes in is it's the same level versus going through a few levels and then coming back with your fresh mind and looking for that one thing you missed. And I struggle with that type of gameplay loop, but I know some people really like that, right? It's like, oh, right. Especially when the game tracks, like, so out of sight restarts the whole level and moves a few things. But I think Tiny Lands is just like, you found this once. I think, I can't remember. I appreciate that for when you scale the difficulty, when you have things that are like, most of the game is here, but then there's a couple outlier difficulty spikes that on purpose. And so when you come back, this bit's done. You're coming back explicitly to deal with these things, and these are the things we're going to remind you. These are the 3 things that you didn't get last time, and you're coming back to this level knowing that you are in hunt mode, right? Like, I appreciate the pairing of those designs.
Yeah, I mean, it's different design sensibilities.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, those are visual puzzle games where, you know, if your eyes ain't working, then, you know, if they start getting a bit blurry looking at the screen all day, then, you know, you're up shit's creek. But this is... I describe this as a puzzle game first and foremost. And
yes. Yeah, definitely.
The hidden objects part of it is just an asset of it, where it's like, okay, you are searching for things, but it's the puzzles and the mechanics are what guide you through it. But yeah, my final thoughts is I just really love the sound design of it, like just how, you know, when you're scrolling, you know, resizing the objects, it has this nice pop. It's like it's just very nice and just
That's very good.
Yeah, thank you. And everything, it looks really nice as well. Like, I really like the assets that they've used for it. It's just a very calm. It's got the same like diorama look to it, so it's got that kind of cutesy tweeness to it as well. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and it's sort of like how played Hidden Folks, where it's like I just love this game so much, I just want to
savor it.
Savor it. But knowing that there's a roadmap, I mean, that's...
I'm gonna look that up right now.
Yeah, because I don't, it's hard for me to go back to DLCs in terms of like, I mean, Ben, you've spoken about it before, like how it's so hard to go back to some DLCs for like, action games where it's like, I've forgotten all these buttons, but something like this, it's like
you can figure the button back out real quick.
Well, it comes with the sort of the simplicity of the language, doesn't it? Of this game, action games are very hard unless you've gone through kind of tutorials to pass. If you're just thrown straight into the middle of it and said, well, here you go, crack on, which oftentimes you are doing those DLC things as additions to the story. So you've already played, I don't know, 40, 30 hours or something, and then you come back to it to play an additional 5 or 6 at the end of that story. So if you've gone away for 6 months and you've played however many other games that you've played, it's very, very difficult to come back. This, so simple in its language that you can come back to it, even if it's next week that they drop a couple of levels, or in 3 months' time when they drop a little bit. It's much more simple to understand and know how to just get back into the swing of the language of what they're asking you to do. I'd like a bit more, I suppose, of those complex levels with that roadmap. So they're complicating it slightly and understanding the switching between things, but I think that's again is simple enough that your brain will just go, yep, I understand what they're looking to do, because they signpost it very, very well. When you need to switch between different dioramas or change sort of the seasons and those sorts of things, it's very simple to understand how to do that. And they don't change the controls. It is done in exactly the same way as everything else.
I don't think this will be the last time we talk about Sizeable, but I really like the playfulness to it. Like every time I found a new pillar, it was just like a revelation. Maybe not as dramatic, but just like I really like it gets that up moment, and it's like it's very playful and toyetic, and like how it looks, and it's just like it's like one of those things as a child where you put like the different shapes into the different holes, and it's just like trying to work that out. It's just, it's very tactile, and it's good. It's good.
I was gonna say, I think you hit the nail on the head. No spoilers, level X. But you hit the nail on the head with playful, because it's literally like it's full of play. Each level has a lot of neat things to do, and when you're like, I don't know what to do, you're just like, well, sometimes there's a turtle hiding behind a tree, so I'm just gonna shrink all the trees. No, that didn't do anything. Okay, and I want to make them all big, and maybe shade matters, and like they done a really good job of making the like plants and stones and stuff sometimes matter, but not usually not, but also having them consistently like changeable. For example, almost every level has a stone or 2 or 3 that will hit the 3 sizes and you can pick up. So that's the one thing we sort of glossed over, which is some things you can pick up and move it, and some things you can just shift the sizes of, and of course and then the rest just stays the same. And so part of your initial like examination of a world will be like, okay, what can I move and what can I shrink and what can't I shrink or move, right? But like by having those things sometimes matter, I think that's kind of what like bridges, again, it's really good to design it, bridges a gap between like, for example, on Out of Sight or Tiny Lands, you're just staring and spinning things. You're like, all I'm doing is camera work. And I know all I'm doing is camera work. Here, because it's dynamic, I'm like, I don't know, quick, grab all the stones, throw them in the corner. I did that in one level. I'm like, God, but by doing that, I was just letting my brain do the same thing that spinning the camera was, but I didn't feel like I was spinning my own wheels, to mix a metaphor. Mixed metaphors coming in update 2.3. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, so I just anyway, I can obviously overanalyze things to the nth degree.
No, but when
but
you
I
said
just
it was
wanted
like
to add the
beta,
full of play thing is the thing I wanted to key in on, which is they've really done a good job of making it so you are constantly able to play even when you're stuck.
Yeah, it's like someone just started moving things around in Unity. It's like, oh, how does this work? What could I do with this? And they just built it on that. So yeah, so when you lot are saying beta, you're not meaning it in like, oh, the game's unfinished or anything. Just in
no.
There's so many more possibilities because
And it feels like they've gone, oh, let's just have a go at doing this and seeing how that kind of comes out. And there's probably been a lot of testing going into each of those things to then include it into those levels. Yes, absolutely. But it feels like that is maybe a level which is going to show you what is to come, perhaps, and where they can take this formula.
They in their roadmap, they also say the community sort of is going to decide one of the steps.
Right.
So then, and so like I know, like, and I've poked a bit. It's like they're very interactive with their community. So again, I think that's why like the notion of the beta level kind of makes sense, because if the feedback loop is I really like that penguin-y thing, or I really like the diorama shifty thing, then they can develop and design new levels along either of those pathways, depending on sort of what us, the audience, wants.
Nice.
And of course, I want something where you can loop the dynamic stuff through the shifting of the diorama levels.
No,
I don't. That's just asking for a different type of game, I think, or like
free.
Yes, that's exactly what it's asking for.
We all do. So yeah.
Brilliant. Just to finish it out, we shouted out the composer of Outside. The music, which is all kind of piano composition stuff, is written by and composed by Jamal Green. So we shouted out, I think it was Purple Cat who did the music for Out of Sight. So we'll try and be a bit consistent with all of the people who are contributing to these slightly smaller titles, because often we get into the conversation of one person did this, and it isn't. There's
Kojima didn't make all of Death Stranding?
I mean, he might have.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
I don't think he sleeps. I don't think he needs to sleep.
I think it's just like a fever dream, and they put like this Cerebro helmet on him, and then you're actually just streaming his thoughts.
That might be exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
No one made anything.
And he doesn't need to eat. He just feeds off of Twitter, so it's fine. We can pretend.
Celebrities. Celebrity likes.
If you'll allow me, I'd just like to mention that I've returned to Fall Guys.
Oh. Okay, whilst you're doing that, I'm going to go get my other beer out of the fridge. So, not that I don't want to hear this.
I thought for sure that Lucy was going to bail if we talked FF14, but no, fuck it. Just Fall Guys, good enough.
I was ready to go with Final Fantasy, but Fall Guys, I'll be back.
Yeah,
it's fun. We've only shifted a letter. So we were FF, we're now just FG, so it's fine. We'll find an FH next time you can go. It's, you know.
But also, I mean, all the power to Lucy having another beer.
Absolutely.
Ben, while Lucy grabs another.
I don't want it cold.
So. Oh yeah, that's fair. While Lucy grabs said beer, I still haven't played Fall Guys. I keep forgetting that I've got a friend who. It's like one of the few games she plays regularly, and she's like, and I see on Discord, it's like playing Fall Guys. Like it alternates between Scrivener, which is like a writing app. So it's like, oh yeah, they are working. It's like Discord's like, yep, working. And then it's like it's 4:30. Fall Guys. I'm like, not working. But also, and I have yet to fall once.
Yeah, it's fun. It remains fun. They've just come out with season 4, which is this slightly more futuristic themed sort of. I don't know what the date is, 2120 or something like that. That they've jumped it into the future for these Fall Guys, and changed up the maps to try and make them kind of a little bit different, which I appreciate. There's a map where it's kind of like a race, and you have to do 2 laps of this circuit, and there's various obstacles in the way, various things to navigate through, and it just changes up the formula. That it's not, here is just run from point A to point B and that is it, you are done. It's kind of run from point A to point B, navigate that, then run to point C and navigate that, run to point D and navigate that, run to point E and navigate that, and then do it all again. So it kind of has changed things up. I really love the aesthetic that they've gone for. It's all kind of very kind of neon and futuristic with crazy textures, and you can kind of see Disney will never allow them to do it. But I absolutely want like a Tron skin for my little bean. That would
like a glowing dynamic lighting.
Yes, completely. Definitely want a little Tron skin. I'm still bowling about as a fairy unicorn with varying different patterns and colours and things, based upon my daughter's whims about what colour she would like the jelly bean to be. But I think they've there's been a little bit more time between sort of like the seasons. So season 4 has come out, I think, 4 months after season 3. There was a little bit a swifter churn between the seasons, from whenever it came out in August, I think, and up until Christmas they were already in season sort of 3. So we've come up to season 4 now. I will go back to it tomorrow. I might go back to it after we've chatted. It's definitely fallen back into being my kind of, I'll just go and spend 10 minutes playing this, because it's just so easy to do that. Again, talking about kind of game language, that is a game which tells you its language very, very well. And you, even with having like this medieval set that they brought out for season 2, the kind of the winter set for season 3, and then this futuristic set for season 4, they do not deviate too far from the kind of general conceit of the game. And Aadil, you would be able to go in there and pick it up very easily. Anyone would jump in now and be able to play it without having. That's it. We'll just listen to you play for the entire rest of it. I mean, you could.
I think it's the first time I've turned on my PS4 in months, and it's just for some stupid joke on webcam that most listeners won't. Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, maybe a year because I don't have it anymore. God we trust.
I think.
R.I.P.
I mean, it's going to be free somewhere else, surely, at some point.
What, Fall Guys?
Yeah. I mean, if you missed it on
they got
PS
bought
Plus,
by Epic, so.
They have been bought by Epic, yes. I wouldn't be surprised if it was then a free game at some point through Epic Store.
Give it a year. Because they'll want those Xbox and Switch sales, and then.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's true. But it's because it's Epic and it's on PC. I could see them in the next couple of months, maybe 3 months or something, just before the start of the summer, making it free on Epic, because all they're doing, it's been out on Steam for nearly a year. You know, came out on Steam the same time as it did on PlayStation, I think. It was just the PS Plus game for August.
Yeah. I mean, that's what made it, I think, between. So I think a large part of it was like, Twitch engagement, etc. That got the hardcore people with the Steam side, but ultimately the wave of everyone playing Fall Guys was PS, not PC.
But didn't.
That's personal
Now you're saying it's on PC. It must have.
Oh, it's been on PC since day one.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it must have been popular on there. Like, there's more data on that. Breaking.
Yeah, so Steam does tell you how many concurrent people and like what the sales are, etc. It was very popular for a Steam game, but that like pales in comparison to the numbers of people who got it on PS Plus and then were playing it. There's just way more
Because with Rocket League, it was more of, yes, there are lots of people playing on PlayStation, but because it had that, that buzz on PlayStation, a lot of PC gamers then bought it on PC to play on PC.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to find. Can you see on Steam what people are playing, the concurrent users? On the app itself, it wasn't in the. It's not in the store page for
no, I don't think you can. But
I think there's usually a third-party site.
It's on my wish list because I have friends who play it on PC. But crossplay exists, right?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So then there's literally no reason why I should wish for this game except I don't want to turn on the other thing. I can't remember where the info is.
I don't know. I was just going to have a quick look because season 4 came out the last couple of days.
Wait.
Updated 23rd of March. It is not in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh no, it won't be. It's too old.
Well, the Rocket League is.
Yeah, but Rocket League special.
But season 4 came out today or yesterday. It's
very,
that is
true.
There's been a big new
I'll
sort
of. All the top 100. Let me search for. Fall Guys is about halfway down the list. It's like number 40 or.
Also, hilariously, it has the MMO category under Steam. Which is this an MMO?
Nah.
They it can't be. No.
It's a multiplayer game. And it
peak today was 21,301.
There we go.
I mean, that's pretty good.
Which pales in comparison to Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which was 1 million.
Oh, but that's
I know, but it's just.
But I mean, also that tells you so much about PC gamer. Like, I'm sorry, but no console gamer, like no other platform, will have someone playing a 80-year-old game. 80-year-old in gamer terms, Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Like, it's kind of mind blowing how so many people who have PCs who play games, obviously not top of the line PCs necessarily because you don't need them, but just play this core set of games.
It's
over and over.
I'm not surprised that that's the top. It's just surprising how the difference between the top 3 is. Like, number 3 is Valheim, which
which is new and
peak today was 200,000. Dota 2 is 562,000.
Sorry, no. I really want you to say Dota 2 players. OG Dota has 2 players is how I heard it, and I was like, that fuck you. Shade on Dota. No one plays that game. Go to hell.
The guy at Burning Soul, what
have I done?
Dota, he plays Dota. So
Dota 1 or 2? Is he Dota player 1 or is he Dota player 2?
He might have multiple accounts, so he may be playing on his own.
Right, I think it's time for another beer, isn't it? Just to
finish, Valheim's 200,000. Dota 2 is 562,000. These are peaks today. Counter-Strike is double what Dota is.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. It's just nuts.
Yeah,
the disparity between the top 3.
I mean, Steam kids, mate. To finish out a little bit on Fall Guys, I will just.
Who's playing Far Cry 5?
No one.
Wait, which one's Far Cry 5? Is that the one that's not political, or the other one?
No, the political one, the American-based political one.
No, that one's not political, Ben. The one in America with freedom fighters and stuff. That's not political.
No, that one isn't. The one in
religious.
That one. Isn't it? It's got Yetis. Yetis are political.
I mean, they probably are. For the Fall Guys finale, whilst I was scrolling through their Steam page, I went down to the reviews. It's currently got 308,000 reviews. One of those reviews, posted on the 2nd of March, beware, this game will go the same way Rocket League has. It was just bought by Epic. It will be removed from Steam, forced on Epic Scam's launcher, and will become a shell of what it used to be. Beware, as this will not be the same game people loved. Epic is a scourge upon the gaming world. Please do not support them. Just fuck off. Come on.
I mean,
Sorry, I muted myself and then yelled, and I think my housemates will probably be concerned.
50% of that is right. It was bought by Epic, and it may not be the game people appreciate in several years' time. So,
yeah, it's
speak
true.
for the rest, but there's some truth in that.
I mean, it looks like the only person that's done anything is given it an award for being a jester, an important part of the royal court. I don't know what you can do with your Steam points these days, but someone's basically saying this guy's a clown, which I agree with.
It's crazy because it's still a thing. Like, people are still mad at that store. Like,
yes,
I mean,
as of 21 days ago, someone definitely was.
Because it's on Steam as well. So a lot of the misplaced and misjudged hate was just usually because it was, they were tying up exclusives, but this is not even a case of that.
So it's because people don't understand how businesses and work, and how exclusivity windows are a thing based on popularity. So the worst thing Epic could do, given that it's like now, by the time if they end up buying it, and by the time they everything goes through, it'll be a year since it released. The worst thing it could do was take it away from people. Also, they can't take it away from people they've already sold it to.
Yep.
So that's dumb and not what they're going to do. And I feel like this is a failure of civics lessons in the Western world, because all you need to do, somehow people have not been taught what profit-seeking behavior should look like. Because profit-seeking behavior isn't taking it away once it's out. It's not putting it out so you have a false monopoly, like a false choke point.
Exclusivity.
We don't have that anymore, so you're not taking it away. Fall Guys isn't going to disappear from Steam and then no.
I think this guy is going to be like the person who's like, look, told you, Skynet. I think he's trying to just get there first before Epic rule the world. It's like, all right then.
Yep.
But, yeah, it's weird.
My biggest disappointment with Epic Games is that they're just another capitalist company, and there's nothing epic about that. They really should be trying to do evil in the way that Google claims they aren't, because then that'd be epic. They need to have a plot line, right? Not just yet another fucking overpaid store. They're just the Valve of the 2020s or 2010s, right? We hit it big with a thing, Half-Life, Fortnite, and then we had so much money we made a store, and we're gonna try and make sure that it's the store. It's the same story.
I think it's story, and a lot of it is tied up in I don't like Fortnite, so I hate Epic, and just because Fortnite's the biggest thing.
I would agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Also, I want all the functionalities of a 20-year-old store on a brand new store. Your store doesn't have functionality X. Well, but I mean, when it's
that's why I didn't, because they just jumped into the market. It's like, here, we're going to take these games, not take these games as you say, but type in these exclusivity deals, and just throw a lot of money at it, which is what companies do now. But it's just maybe you should have a compelling product before you.
I mean, I think there is something to be said about whether. So I think they tried to put out a store, and then it turns out people expected a community place, etc.
No, I just wanted to just have a shopping basket or something.
Yeah, that's true. I take it back. I forgot how bad the OG store was. I take it all back. You're entirely right. It wasn't even a store like ASOS, who sells you shoes and trendy shirts, had a better fucking purchasing environment. Also, they've been around for ages, but I just mean it's not the purchasing platform isn't rocket science at this point, and the fact that they didn't was a big mark against them. I want to say that clearly because I kind of insinuated that wasn't the case, and I want to takesy backsies.
No, it was just a case of let's just throw money at this before actually making a compelling product first, and Just like, oh dear, everyone's
Ooh.
dying.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm not dying. It's just Ben clearly was just like, I asked for another beer. I poured a beer. I'm now having the beer. And...
What are you drinking, Ben? Because I'm very intrigued by that.
Oh wow!
Very strong stout by the looks of it.
I am drinking King of the Woodland, which is a left-handed giant, and I never know how to.
Got it.
I never know how to say this brewery.
Is that a new one?
Ulchi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how Lucy her like, yeah, and then said an entirely different thing. I think it's this.
Mumbled
it's not this.
Left-handed giant and
the owl people.
The owl people, absolutely the owl people. Yes. King of the Woodland, which is imperial stout with pistachio and honeycomb at 12.5%.
I know I've had that beer before, but
so it's rebrewed. Yeah,
as well.
It came out last year. I mean, it's come out I think every year for the last maybe 3 years, perhaps.
I was late to the party then because I only just had it last year.
So I had it last year as well. The additions of pistachio, honeycomb, and lactose. That is all Left-Handed Giant tell us. I think the can has remained the same. I don't think they've changed the art at all, or at least that's what I very much saw and went, I know exactly what that beer is. I'm going to get it. But big nose. Big marzipan nose. Massive. And in the flavour, it's so big of a flavour.
Yeah, it was quite something. Very, from what I remember, it was maybe a bit too much, a bit too treacly, a bit too much like motor oil.
I mean, it is quite oily. It's quite syrupy, definitely, and the flavour is massive. Like that kind of pistachio, marzipan flavour is massive, and I think the honeycomb is really overshadowed actually in this. It's very subtle, and it may just be doing something slightly sweet, giving a little bit of that burnt kind of roasted note or a burnt sweetness to that roasted note, which kind of comes on the back of that big marzipan flavour. But it's big. It's pistachio. It's a little bit sort of cherry. It's what you kind of expect from marzipan, really. A little bit not nutty. I think it's a bit too sweet for that. So again, the honeycomb may be doing a little bit to it, but that sweetness just lasts. And whilst this is quite dry, not super dry, only a little dry.
Not gonna sell you raincoats on the high street.
Exactly, I've not got a new coat or anything because it's so dry. I don't need one, but not super dry to need one. No, but the sweetness, it does stick around. I know I've gone out of sequence here and told you what my beer tastes like before we've even delved into anything else, but it was such a big.
I'm going to kick and ban you from the Discord server now. Doesn't matter. We're on a private call. I don't know why it's that.
I mean, it's lovely, but it's very big. I'll see how I feel. I'd definitely be drinking this one much slower than I will the Wool Double IPA. But we will get through it and come back to it. Lucy, I know again going out of sequence, but we kind of. The beer was a little bit too cold. The first beer you cracked was a little bit too cold. Did you have any additional kind of thoughts to it?
Yeah, not really, to be honest. It's just as I said, really well balanced beer. There's not much more flavour coming out of it than I first suspected. So, yeah, just a really good beer. Nice. Really easy. Nice. I say it's understated because it just does what it needs to do very competently. So.
Nice.
Good. But I'll crack open that beer after Aadil's gone. I was gonna have a Mexicake beer, but before planning, that wasn't in the fridge, so maybe I'll have that next week. But I've got something just as, in fact, even more ridiculous. So.
That's fair. That's fair. Aadil, we will come to you for what I can see was a little peek of Verdant, perhaps.
Yes, but it's also Verdant and Pohjala.
Oh.
It is the Verdant Pohjala collaboration, which is called Shipping Forecast. It's a Baltic porter at 10.2%.
Nice.
Falmouth, southeast veering, southwest 4 or 5, occasionally 6 later, rising or falling slowly. Good.
Is that a haiku?
That's the flavor text.
Okay.
It has water, barley, yeast.
Good start. It's a beer.
Oh, it says it's a Baltic porter. It's 10.2%. Yeah, I mean, I wish my camera could convey. Maybe it can actually. Sorry, I've got glare here, but it is a gorgeous can. It's darker in person because obviously I've got all the lights, and actually about it is blue. I don't know what's going on with my blue balance because anyway. But like, it's just a very understated sort of color scheme, but very, very pretty can.
Yeah.
And honestly, I saw that, I'm like, oh, what's that? And it has this like classy font. I was just like, gotta get it. Oh, wait, is Verdant and Pohjala? I won't go wrong with this. It's nice. A 10.2% porter. How I think porter should be.
Perfect. Pour that, but ooh, looks nice and thick. Lucy.
To round out the trifecta of strong stouts.
Is it an Atom?
It is.
Atom? Oh. Yeah. Whoa.
Just a really another striking can. It's called Oblivion, and it's an Imperial Desert Stout. And this is probably
what now?
Imperial
Dessert. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, is it like a Desert Eagle type reference? What is going on?
It's just it's the driest beer you'll ever have.
Yeah,
yeah.
Dessert set. So.
Makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I love it though.
Yeah, it's all black can, but it's got like these silver just lines, thin lines on it, and it's got in the center just this black circle, like looks like a black hole. But yeah, it's called Oblivion. Side note, I was just looking at the Equilibrium beers because left field beer sell some other ones, and they've all got names like, it's very mathy kind of names like fractal and all these algebraic terms and stuff like that.
Sounds great to me.
Yes, but yes, Atom. It's a 13% Imperial dessert stack.
Oh, Lucy's topping it all off at 13%.
I know.
Just outdoing me.
But yeah, 440ml can. Which is surprising. Probably could have done with 330. But it is 13%. Let's have a look. Flavor text. It says Kranaken inspired raspberry imperial stout, conditioned on vanilla and single malt oak chips. A complex, sweet, smooth, and decadent finish. So that'll be interesting.
Lovely, nice. Get it
to sleep immediately.
We'll skip over me. I've already given some thoughts on King of the Woodland. Aadil, we'll come back to you.
It's dark.
It looks it.
Oh, it's got a sweet,
nice brown head to it though.
Yeah, I mean, very tiny head and almost no lacing. You can it's got good lacing, but like no head. So, it's sorry, just the nose. It's got like rich maltiness and a bit of sweetness, like a bit of. I don't think it's caramel, but it's got a bit of like carameliness just on the nose, just because of the sweetness. I assume it's partly because of that 10.2%. With it being malt forward. Ooh. I'm gonna repeat myself a bit. With you can't quite tell it's 10%. I said a similar thing with the 7%, except it's got just a little. It's just a little more viscous, and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, there's no it's not sickly sweet. It's just like, yeah, some of that sweetness is probably alcohol because I know it's 10%, and it's a little thick. Just how I like my porters. Again, it's that 10%. Oh, sorry, I'm just trying to acclimatize.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Clean your palate slightly.
It's got like a sharpness almost, it's quite clean and clear in its like, I'm a porter, I'm doing portery things. And then on the back foot, yes, I know I'm giving tasting notes that refer recursive tasting notes are fine. Lucy said something about maths, so
all the justification you need.
Oh, folding it onto themselves like a black hole.
So it's smooth. It's got a little bit of like hard cocoa, I would say. Like 80-90%, like that very cocoa taste. And then it's like the maltiness is very much, again, kind of strict. Think porter notes with none of the softening, I guess. It's not harsh, it's just these are the notes and they're happening and they're very good.
I know what you mean when you say, like, you know, just a clean, crisp porter. Like,
yeah.
Not watery, because that's just the wrong word. So, yeah, I'd probably use, like, clean.
Yeah, so, yeah, a clean porter. And what I think is interesting is it's not like, it doesn't have this, like, lingering biscuitiness or something else, which, like, we often see, which is, like, a more rounded type beer. This is, like, I'm a porter. I'm doing these things. I'm not letting, there isn't an extra taste that's doing something else, but it's also very crisp. Again, can't tell the 10% at all, except with that viscosity and a bit of that sweetness. But that sweetness is like just kind of making that like 80-90% cocoa feel a little milky at a certain point in the taste curve. Like that's the only, like, there's a bit of a sweet spot, like literally, and then it disappears. And it leaves you texture-wise, mouthfeel-wise, still kind of wet, but the lingering bitterness is slightly, I want to say, weak coffee.
Okay. Yeah.
It is not like it's not a bold coffee. It's not like a dark roast that's all taste forward and I'm doing, dark fruits and chocolate, etc. It's not a chocolatey coffee taste. The chocolate has left and the coffee has come in, and it's like, oh yes, coffee. Like if you had a bit of a watered down coffee and the aftertaste was lingering, obviously because it's still coffee, but you didn't have this like, my palate is consumed with coffee notes. That's kind of what the finish is like. It's this really laid back coffee, which I don't remember last time a beer gave me this, which is really interesting because, again, it's this very velvety, chocolatey, cocoa, not chocolatey, I think.
Yes.
Dark chocolatey, like very interesting, strong start, and then it ends with this weak coffee, and it's not like weak in the literal sense, right? Like it's not, I'm not saying it's kind of a weak taste. I'm saying like it's just this, like the taste is coffee, is of a weak coffee, and the taste curve, or what do you want to call it, throughout is just very consistent. You don't notice the switch between more chocolatey to more coffee. This is just a very drinkable beer. Nice. But mostly I want to say is it tastes, as I said before, like a porter. It's like a porter, and I guess what I like about it's this Baltic porter called Shipping Forecast, and I feel like there's a bracingness of sea air that the initial hit of I'm portering, I'm right now, that this gives me, and that's why I really respect, like I really like the name, because it's not salty, it's not like, it doesn't give me this like notion of the sea in like the direct tasting notes, but it's the bracingness, it's the we're doing this and we're doing it really well, and we're kind of just doing this, that it's like
like good water quality, like that's what I think about when I drink porters. Like there's something very sophisticated about like the water quality and how it just gets that cleanness coming through.
I can't think of many better things than sitting in a bar on the beach, very relaxed, and just supping a porter. That is what I want right fucking now. Can't have it. But that's what I want. Lucy!
I've only got the canal.
Sit on the canal, that's fine. You still get the waft of sewage and stuff. How's the Atom?
The Atom.
Very video game related Oblivion.
Yes, the Oblivion.
Oh yes, it's the follow-up to their Morrowind.
Their next beer is just going to be called You've Woken.
Wow.
I actually don't know. Now I'm second guessing myself. Oh no. Elder Scrolls. You tell us about the beer, and I'll tell you if my joke was wrong.
Oblivion did come after Morrowind, and then it's Skyrim.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, good. Thanks, nerd.
I've only played Skyrim, so
I've only played Oblivion, so.
You've never played?
I've only played the thing that's coming next.
Oh yeah, because you didn't have a 360 PlayStation.
I've watched people play Skyrim and then gone, nah. I get this from MMOs. It's fine.
Yeah, I own multiple copies of Skyrim on multiple platforms from various things, and I've played maybe 3 hours total, and it's the same hour 3 times.
If someone said, who's the person on the podcast who's played the most Skyrim, and the
answer is Lucy.
They'd be like,
I'm gonna add that to our trivia list.
In terms of the beer, when I first poured it, definitely getting like, smelled like a digestive biscuit, then that very biscuity, malty smell on it, but now that it's sat, maybe the head disappeared a bit. Definitely getting that raspberry, which is pretty much the only thing I can smell right now.
Okay.
I would have expected to get a bit of coffee, but so it'll be interesting to see how fruit forward this is, and if that is the overwhelming taste. Yeah, just like the smell, very understated. Like, smelling this, you don't get a lot of booziness on the smell. Same with the taste. It's bizarre. It's bizarre how much this doesn't taste like a 13% beer.
Yeah.
This tastes
Atom are very good at that.
Yeah. This tastes almost like a sour. It tastes like a sour.
Sorry.
If someone put a blindfold on me, I'd be like, that sour's got a bit of chocolatiness to it at the end.
I just realized where you are in relation to me on stream. I'm going to look up at you. I'm so shocked at this. I don't think you're wrong. It is not what I was expecting you to say.
It honestly tastes like it tastes like a sour.
Wow.
It tastes like the Juicy Lucy that I had a couple weeks ago, where that was
like a blueberry.
That was like a raspberry blueberry sour. This tastes like that. if you blindfolded me and said, "What style is this?"
You wouldn't say what you had?
I would maybe go as far as to say it's like a milkshake IPA that's got like
A
fruity.
MIPA.
Yeah. But this is bizarre. I think I think the alcohol will hit me later because like I'm feeling it's warming in my stomach now, so you can tell the alcohol's there, but right off the taste, it
weird.
Yeah, it doesn't taste like a 13% stout. I mean, maybe you could say like, yeah, this tastes more like, other than the warming alcohol feeling afterwards, this tastes more. It's so light, like it's not thick at all. There's not much viscosity to it. I think the fact that it's quite still and there's not a lot of hoppiness and it doesn't have that quite tart, crispness of like a typical sour. I think that's where the delineation lies. But yeah, it as I say, it's like it's mostly raspberry. You definitely
That's
get
so
more
interesting.
flavor, and then you're getting this underlying chocolate afterwards, which
Is it
complements
like lightly like milk chocolately coated, like
milk
very
chocolate,
thin layer of milk chocolate coated raspberry? Like
yeah.
not a thick layer, just like a quick dunk.
It's
have
like
the
Neapolitan
bite.
In the
ice
fondue.
cream.
Oh,
It's like if you had like a Neapolitan ice cream beer, where you're getting a lot of the raspberry, a little bit of that chocolate, a little bit of that vanilla. But the raspberry is definitely the overwhelming flavor in that. As I say, like it's dangerous.
yeah, it's fair.
As I say, if someone blindfolded you and said, "Drink this," you would not.
I would always say yes.
13%. Yeah.
Sorry, what was the thought experiment?
Move on.
And that's where we get into trouble when we go to Birmingham.
I just need...
No. I just think that's just a great place to end.
Perfect.
Yeah. I'll come back to it, but
yeah,
it's kind of crazy what it's doing.
I'm so curious. I based on the dissonance of like what you described, I am going to have to track this down.
Yeah. Because I don't know if it's. I don't think my taste buds are all off after drinking the, burning soul. That doesn't usually have much bearing, but yeah, it's as I say. Other than that warming sensation afterwards, you would not think this is A, 13% or B, an imperial dessert stout. Like, just
no.
But okay, hold on. Can I just ask one more question? Do you think desert stout makes more sense or less sense now that you've tasted this bizarre beer?
No, because it's not drying, and that's partly due to the raspberry as well. Like it's very easy, and you could knock this back and not think anything about it. Not think that you're going to be flat on your ass later because you're drinking a 13% dessert stout. I mean, Ben, you've got more reference with Atom than me. This might be the first Atom beer that I've had. So
I don't think I've had an Atom beer.
If you say that they disguise their strength well, then
yes,
this is probably the epitome of that. Because
I think all of the Atom beers I've had are double figures.
They just make strong beers.
Yeah, and
they don't taste like strong beers.
Yeah, they've never felt like that. You can have some breweries like Wander Beyond who are very, very good at making like double-digit beers, IPA or DIPAs, imperial beers and stuff. They make very, very good. You know, and you have that extra kind of hit from them, that body from them, that sweetness, that alcoholiness. You can tell that they are just a little bit bigger, but they
absolutely
don't hide it, they don't mask it, They just balance things very well. Whereas Atom, I was like, nah, we don't need to show you any of that. This is a 6% IPA milkshake. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I'm just looking at some of these, like on Untapped, and thinking, am I crazy? But the first one I saw was, this was irresponsibly amazing.
Irresponsibly amazing.
That's the best way to put it. That's fantastic.
Look,
that's really
someone
good.
says cherry Coke.
Irresponsibly amazing is like what I want to be described as at some point in my life. Like as a teacher, amazing. Streamer, yeah, sure, I'll take it.
Nice.
But yeah, irresponsibly amazing is a great turn of phrase, and it's evocative. I love it.
It is evocative. Gets the people going.
Just looking at just to finish, just looking at like the Untapped reviews, because do it for Steam, do it for here. But yeah, people makes it, the raspberry makes it sour. I haven't even spoken about the fact that it's was infused with like whiskey, barrel aged oak chips and stuff like that. Not getting a lot of the coffee. As I say, more chocolate, more like milk chocolate rather than coffee. But yeah, I should say it's very nice. Even though it's very deceptive in what it is, it's very nice. So
good. I fear we are running up to our 2 hours very, very quickly. And
we've been streaming for an hour and 30 minutes.
Exactly. Whilst we've still got Aadil and Lucy to jump into, I think I'm going to come. Well, I was going to come to you, Lucy, because Aadil and I dominated the conversation last week with chats of Final Fantasy XIV. So I was going to come to you first. I mean, if you've got like 5 minutes worth of stuff, fine. If you've got 30 minutes worth of stuff, fine. Just do it in 5 minutes.
No, I'm gonna let you lot take the charge on this one as well. I've not played much. I was playing the Minish Cap Zelda.
Yes.
This last week. I just wrapped it up just before we started recording, actually. Yeah, splendid, fun little game. Crappy last boss. So that was literally my last experience of it before just hopping onto here. But when was that game made? Like 2004 or something like that. And I still think it's bizarre that we lead on these really weird final bosses. Like, I understand when it's like accumulation of all your skills and stuff like that in terms of more action oriented games, but with Zelda it's never about action, it's more puzzle solving, especially for like these 2D ones. So it just makes it a bit weird how they throw these things where it's like, yes, you have these tools, but you've never seen this like kind of enemy before, so you don't know which tools are going to work in this circumstance. And it's just like they throw a lot of that at you where, okay, you're gonna have to use this rod here, you're gonna have to use the arrows here, you're gonna have to use this mechanic with this one. It's like there's no analog for that in the rest of the game, because it's a completely new enemy type, because it's the final boss.
I mean, we could spend the next 20 minutes talking just about this, couldn't we? And the fall of games in about the mid 2000s, where they just separated you from the rest of the game for their final boss. Stuff like Uncharted 2, which just chucked you into this stupid final fucking boss. It's like, what is this?
I hate that. As much as I love that game, I cannot stand.
Like, that game was fantastic, apart from that last bit.
Awful. Just aren't you like running around in like this foresty area? You got these different colours, and this guy who can replicate himself. I can't even remember, because
Lazarevich. He just takes some kind of, I can't even remember what he does. He eats a mushroom, gets big. Yeah. It shoots fire at you after he eats a flower or something like that. I don't know. Just taken from other games, isn't it? But you just run a figure eight and just shoot with a shotgun a couple of times, and
it's so long. And this boss had really long. In Zelda, it had like 2 forms, and then it's like, okay, I saved Zelda now. Let's go home and have fun, drink at the tavern in Hyrule or whatever. And then they just throw in another part of the boss fight after. I'm just like, oh my god.
It's got to be 3, mate. It's got to be 3. There's either 1 or there's 3. There's nothing else apart from that.
Yeah, because I went through the whole game without a walkthrough, which is like, for a Zelda game that's over 15 years old at this point, is novel for me at least. But yeah, I'm just like, show me how to beat this stupid final boss, so I can jump on recording. And it's like, yeah, it boggles my mind how it's even worse when there's a difficulty spike right at the end.
Absolutely,
and it's
yes.
That compounded by new mechanics that you haven't seen before. You're just thinking, why? We've been the royal we've been making games for what, 50 years at this point. Surely someone knows how to do a final boss by now.
Yeah,
it's just very irritating. But yeah, fantastic game.
What did you play Minish Cap on?
Wii U, which is the only thing I play on. It's like Aadil, I think you're muted, but
yes. I am muted right now.
It's weird how my brain works sometimes, because I just want to get into bed and just play a game in the evening after work before I go to sleep. And I don't want to play my Switch, and I don't know why. And then I'll pick up the Wii U though, and then I'll go for a month where it's like, I don't want to play anything but the Switch.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I just want to play on the 3DS, even though it makes my hands hurt.
So you go from this to this,
to the Vita, to the iPhone, straight in my line, and then
different form factors.
It just depends. Like, I go through phases, like because I'm very nerdy.
What? Wait. Everyone's like, I wish Aadil was still muted.
I know, it's a shock. But I have a spreadsheet of all the games that I play, and I color code like by platform. And then I just see like this whole block of red of like where I've just played my Switch. And then a whole block of it green where I've just played Xbox. So I go through phases. Is that a PSP?
That is a PSP.
Yeah.
That is the only PlayStation console I've never owned.
The Vita is the only one I've never owned.
Oh, really? This thing's great. I mean,
the PSP's fantastic. PSP was absolutely fantastic.
This thing is not good.
No, that's true.
But the rest of this thing is very good.
Man,
this is also hacked, so I can play an PS1 game on this.
I played so much Final Fantasy Dissidia on PSP, and Crisis Core, and
the UMDs.
Well, so I was given this because someone found out. A friend of mine was like, "Wait, you have a PSP?" So they gave me this UMD, which is for Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, which I've never played. But because it was given to me, I had the obligation to put it in the UMD slot and then never deal with again. And I've put it back.
I think that's just a good point to mention, that they're sunsetting. I think I just read
PS3 and PS Vita,
which is
sad.
They're not even that old. Yeah, it's sad. They're not even that old at this point. The PS3 was yesterday. Yeah, or at least it seems.
Yeah, I guess they've hit a critical point where they've they've decided that it's not hitting that cost of keeping it open, right? That will be the thing.
What's sad about it is that they've made no effort to preserve these games.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
If Microsoft said, I just thought they were rebranding Xbox Live or something very, very surface level.
Network.
That's awful. But anyway,
like the Out of Lives network.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, basically the same.
Just as big. But
Important.
They wish.
yeah, but if Microsoft said, "Look, we're shutting the Xbox 360 store," absolutely, that would also be an absolute shame because there's like a lot of licensed games that are still there and stuff like that. But at least they're making a conscious effort to preserve those games.
Yes.
It was the same with the Nintendo. Like they shut the Wii shop, and only a portion of those games are available on Wii U, and it's sad, It's like I get it, you're a company, cost effective. You want to do what's cost effective and what's going to make sense, but these are pieces of art that were just thrown into the wind, into the ether.
Sony still live in that kind of like that middle ground, don't they? And that they still have like one foot in the past and one foot in the future. It kind of feels like they're like, well, Mega Drive games aren't made anymore, so why would we let you keep buying all of these PlayStation 3 games? What,
It's shocking because
I mean, if they there was a lot of talk, wasn't there, around the PlayStation 5 and them talking about the backwards compatibility of PlayStation 4 titles. PS3 was a little bit harder because of the processor in that console and how those games were made, but the original PS3 had extra tech in it to be able to play your PS2 and PS1 games. The Fat Boy, they did think about this at some point. There was a thought somewhere that they said, right, the PS3 has to be able to play PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games. And I imagine someone has looked at all of that data about the games that were racked up and played that is available to them and just gone, nah, we'll get there it is. The 60 gigabyte original
80,
PlayStation
80 gigabyte.
Oh, it's 80. Was it
I
80?
think. Yeah, it was 80. But also weirdly, I thought about selling this thing. Sorry, my focus isn't working, but this OG with the emotion chip, so it plays all PS2 games via hardware, not software.
Yes.
But I brought it from North America, which means this thing plays NTSC discs only and not PAL discs, which means no one in the UK is going to buy this thing, even though it is a UK sought-after thing, because fuck everything.
Yep.
No, and that's another gripe I have, where everything is region locked on PlayStation, so it's like, I can't get Dino Crisis on Vita because I live in the UK.
And again, that might be one of the reasons why they're sunsetting those stores, because of the region locking, because of their awkward, different stores and different sort of things. PlayStation 5 is now like region free, right? So, yep.
Oh, so it's actually worth having.
So,
okay.
Yep. So you can import stuff.
Is it though? I mean, do you want to play a 7-year-old game that everyone loves, or do you want to play nothing? I'm sorry. Is there something other than Demon Souls that's come out on the PS5?
I don't mean having one now. I was being a bit, yes.
And I was being
okay, yeah, screw it. But no, I don't want a PlayStation 5 at this point. But yeah, I'm glad they've done that because it's just such an archaic thing, such a connected world now. It's just like, but yeah, it's sad. Yeah, I mean, PlayStation 2 is my favorite console of all time, and the games that are on there, and
what ultimately sold me on the PS3 was that it was, so at the time I was a big audiophile and big film fan, and it was one of the best Blu-ray players, and for its price, good. And then it was like, when I bought that one, it was, you could play all these PS2 games. And I have had so many friends who were just like, man, you got to play blah and Crash Bandicoot. I got nothing. I don't remember good PlayStation 2 games. I just remember that like people talked a lot about them, and I missed them, right? And so it was like, this is a way I could do both, right? There was like 3 games that didn't work with the chip version of the PS3 because it was the chip version. So I bought it and it was great, and then I didn't do any of the PS2 stuff.
You could chip PS3s.
Yes.
I didn't know that. Chip the PS1 a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
Gave it to some man, paid him like 10 quid.
Oh yeah. It's great.
Good times. But that's why I don't have like a lot of my games from PS1 now, because we first had a chip console and then I believe that broke and then we got a new one. But it's like that wasn't chipped. It didn't chip the new one. So it's like, oh, all these chip games, let me trade them for other games. And and that's why I'm still angry at that person who took my copy of Rugrats and I'm left with FIFA and P6. But think,
mate, they're bringing Rugrats back. That game's going to be worth some money now.
No, not they bring it back. It'll be worth less.
I gave it
it'd
to
be
him,
worth more.
and he didn't give it back to me. And
Wait, are they bringing it back?
They're bringing Rugrats back, yeah, as an animated.
Oh, is it a cartoon?
As an animated cartoon, yeah.
all right.
Oh, I bet it. I don't even think it's aged particularly well.
Oh, it has. It's
Oh,
very.
has it?
Yeah, like I rewatched it. It is funny, like from
Mate, that
from an adult's lens.
in a complete tangent to what we're talking about. That era of Nickelodeon is just
Dreg.
so amazing. Our Real Monsters is like
Our
one
Real
of
Monster
the
was a-
best
but
fucking
also-
cartoons ever.
Wait, is Rocco's Modern Life part of?
Ooh, it is a Nickelodeon show, but I don't know whether
It
it's
has some
part
really
of everything.
weird moments, but I
Rocco's Modern Life was
fucking
good.
loved Rocco's.
Yep. And it's what was the cow friend called?
Oh, I don't remember. Look, when I say I fucking love the thing, doesn't mean I know any details, man. That's like me saying I loved
mate.
Final Fantasy X. Except I know so many details. Yeah. I was gonna say, except I also remember how much I hated Blitzball, and because so it was the era of the internet where you could find out about you could get the details about the unlocks on a game. And so I knew that the only way to get Waka's best weapon was to play a fuck ton of Blitzball.
Yep.
And I was like, I like Waka. And then I found that out. I'm like, sideline, never leveling that guy again. Can't optimize him. Blitzball's the fucking worst. No. I would rather walk around and literally one of the ultimate weapons is you walk around a flat area where lightning occasionally strikes. And you have to get hit by lightning 100 times and hit a button when the lightning strikes, and then you can unlock one of the high-end weapons.
Was that 10 or 13?
Sorry?
Was that 13?
Oh, maybe it's 13.
That's
It might have
13.
been 13. Oh, okay.
Just knowing about probability
All I'm saying
and
is
getting
I
hit by
made-
lightning twice, that just sounds awful.
All I'm saying is I've definitely done the 100 lightning strike thing in a Final Fantasy game, and not done the Blitzball thing because Blitzball can eat my ass.
What about Chocobo racing?
Oh, yeah, definitely
I did that in FF7.
All the
I
breeding.
would never do
All
it
the breeding.
again.
Yeah.
Would never do it again. I was in junior high. It made sense to sink
all the
all of
time.
my hours.
Yeah, all the time, exactly. You come home, you've got like 40 hours before you go back to school, you're fine.
It's also like an era of gaming where you're like, I could kill this person with Shiva, or I could cast Knights of the Round and watch 7.5 minutes of cutscene instead of 20 seconds, and I'm picking the 7.5. Like, junior high Aadil was an idiot.
You had the time.
Oh, I'm glad we managed to get back onto Final Fantasy in
Yeah,
some strange
like I
way.
segued.
Yeah, can I just move on from just closing thoughts on Zelda, the Minish Cap
Oh, yeah.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we got. Yeah. I know, Ben. You said that you're not, particular about going back into old experiences.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Yeah.
I absolutely understand why. Some things are just a bit hard to go back to. All the quality of life things that we have these days. it doesn't
Sounds
translate
like
as well.
Lucy's calling you out as a not good
No,
gamer.
No, I fully understand it. I've just got such a gap in, maybe not 10 years, no, less than that, but a good 5, 6, 7 year gap in my, gaming. What would you call it? I think.
Oeuvre, like just
Yeah,
experiential.
so pretentious, yeah, just a gap in my knowledge and of just like games like that, and I'm just really enjoying going back to just polished experiences like this because I would have enjoyed them back then. But seeing them through a lens now, I just think I just appreciate them even more. Because it's a crap now.
where you have that little gap, I also have that little gap, but very much focused on Nintendo as well. There's a big portion after the Wii where I've not touched a Nintendo console since. So there's everything that came out for the Wii U. There's everything that's come out for the Switch so far, exclusivity wise, that I just have not played.
So I'm in the weird middle but not middle ground because I had an NES, and then when the N64 came out, I got a SNES, and because I got it cheap at a garage sale.
Yeah.
I never owned an N64, never owned any, and then I bought a Wii. Sorry?
GameCube?
Yeah, GameCube. No, nothing like that. Yeah. So then but I had friends who had them, so like I played Soul Calibur 4 on the GameCube, so I've played Link.
Nice.
Still think it's probably one of the best characters on Soul Calibur 4. And then I got a Wii when I lived with someone. And then that's it until the Switch. But I've still not really played a lot of the. Like, I haven't finished Breath of the Wild. And I haven't finished Mario Odyssey. But on the Wii, I played the Planet one. What's it? Mario Galaxy.
That one.
Yeah, but I didn't play Mario Galaxy 2. So, like, for me, it's like Mario 1, 2, 3. Pause. World. Galaxy 1.
No, but that's
Odyssey. and obviously all the 64 ones are like the things that people say are like what made the notion of a 3D Mario. I'm like,
I mean,
my first 3D
Bandicoot's better. Let me just say that.
Yes, but the N64, I think, is for Nintendo what the PlayStation 2 was for PlayStation. It took that leap into that 3D space, and changed up those franchises, from very differently from what they were.
Yeah, I have that gap because around the time the PlayStation 2 was coming out, or even the PlayStation 1, I was just getting a bit older, and I was like, I want to play the baby
games
Mario.
are for babies.
Yeah, there's games are for babies, and
I play the GTAs now.
Yeah, and then Nintendo just didn't do anything that I cared about from like GameCube and Wii U. not Wii U, because I actually have a Wii U. Sadly, don't know why, but hey, get to play Minish Cap.
And
you're not
going to either. That's
the Wii, I was not.
I mean, like literally mid-record, and I was like, I can hear him.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, with the PS2, there was kind of this leap in maturity of games as well. So you've got those GTAs, you've got Driving, you've got the Getaway, you've got those kind of third-person crime-based games, which maturity versus just that level of kind of freedom and doing what you want. The
maturity in that sense. When you look at them now, so immature.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We said maturity then. It isn't maturity whatsoever. And I think actually, just to finish this conversation, we kind of live in a world now where actually, I think video games have much more maturity to them and are maturing better now than they kind of ever have, because of the kind of the nuance of the stories that we can tell and the experiences that we can have, which we've not had before. You know, in the PS2 era, it was fight these demons, rob a bank, do these things. Whereas now it's experience life as someone, walk in someone else's shoes. It's not just like, here is this completely hyperbolic thing that you will never experience. Now it's like, some people experience this. This is something to now think about. And I think that is maturity. It's not just
getting older and more mature.
I was going to say, I think the key there isn't that it's a lot of games development and game as art has like leaning on this notion of like how much the technology has gone forward, but actually it's just the art form has been around long enough that people have figured some things out. For example, Papers, Please is not very complex gameplay wise. Like, you can make that game 15, 20 years ago in the sense of technology, but you couldn't fucking hope to make that game 15, 20 years ago because it's a 5-year-old. Like, I think it came out about 5 years ago.
2013.
Yeah, I mean 5, 10. Yeah. But you know what I mean. Like, it took that level of maturity of the medium, and that's the thing that like is never really talked about, which is like new art takes time, and also especially with this, because so much of this is coding and like an area which traditionally wasn't just rife with artists. So we had a long period of time where we didn't push the boundaries of what the technology could do artistically. And now video games have been around long enough that you can pick a level of technical complexity, and someone's there and being paid to be there, ideally, to like be like, okay, how do we make this impactful? Because, well, honestly, a lot of this late stage capitalism, we need to sell it. But the thing is, we couldn't possibly figure out that we could sell this like depth of experience until we had enough iterations of the like more shallow experience, for lack of a better term. I'm not trying to denigrate. I'm just saying, like, games are at such an interesting point because we have things like Red Dead, which are lauded for the plot, but also have this open world thing where the plot is supposed to be kind of in the back seat because the world is supposed to tell the story emerging gameplay wise, but actually what sells people is that. And I think the tension of that game speaks volumes towards where gaming as an art form is. And I know it came out in who knows how many years ago. It's been COVID for a year. It might as well have been 10. But like, we're at this point where people are paying attention to more than just the tech.
These are pretty graphic. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's just more faith in the audience. The audience has grown enough as well,
and the audience has faith in the developers.
Exactly, yeah. And Red Dead 2 was the example I was going to give. Like, yes, it's a beautiful open world, but the story is what moved me more than anything else in that game.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Nice.
And that wouldn't have been the case 10 years ago. I'll be like, why are these cowboys?
Yeah, because it would have been Red Dead Revolver or whatever.
Well, Red Dead Revolver and Red Dead Redemption are very different to Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption is not that far removed, but it is different. It's different in the way that it delivers things. It's different in the way that it writes things. Different in the way that it presents characters. Yes, absolutely has matured. What a random tangent we have gone on, but I'm glad that we went there.
My comment was only going to be like Minish Cap good, and
that's
we rolled.
Minish Cap it off with Minish Cap is good.
Let's talk about the beers that we have drank this evening. I know exactly which beer I would pick up right away again, and it is the Beak Northern Monk Wool Double IPA. That is the beer for me this week. The King of the Woodland from Northern Monk and Untitled, however you say
Owl
that.
Beer!
Owl Company.
The beer with the owls on it.
Sorry. Owl Beer!
It's nice. it is lovely as a beer that I think would have been much better received had we had cracked 2 cans between the 3 of us and been sat in the same space and been able to enjoy it and luxuriate over. Whereas the wool, I just crack another one right now and just drink it to myself, and then crack another one probably and drink it to myself. Very well balanced, a lovely set of flavors, very, very easy. King of the Woodland, event beer. It kind of feels like a bit of an event beer, you know, an of the moment kind of beer. This is the release now. Have this. It's very good. Everyone talks about it, and then it's forgotten for drinking wool again next week. So it's going to be that for me. Lucy. Oh, I've run out of order again. But Lucy, now I've said your name. What beer are you going to pick this week?
I think I'm with you on that. The Oblivion is just a very interesting specimen of beer. It's fascinating what it's doing. It tastes more of a sour, like more of a, you know, Neapolitan ice cream IPA. You know, it's sort of got, apart from maybe, you know, a lot of the sweetness that the ice cream pale from Burning Soul has. It's getting through those flavors, like the fruitiness and the slight chocolate and vanilla. It's just I'd say let me say this. If you're listening, seek the Oblivion one out first and foremost. But as a beer that I'd go back to and enjoy, that's just so well-rounded, well-balanced, very competent in what it's doing. As an IPA, if I pick up, you know, something on a shelf and just want an IPA, then the 0121 Brew one is what I'd go for.
Sure.
If I want a imperial, you know, stout, or a dessert stout, I'm probably not going to look for this. I'm probably going to go to something else. This is, as you say, I'd love to share this with you lot and just speak about it, talk about it, dissect it, rather than pick it up again and enjoy it. If I want to get absolutely blotto and off my face, and I will pick this up again because it tastes nice. It's a very nice tasting beer.
Yeah.
But what I want from a stout, it doesn't exactly follow through on that, because I want some more coffee, I want some more body, I want some more, you know, maybe a little bit more chocolate, more bitterness. I don't necessarily want fruitiness in my stouts.
Yeah, that's fair.
Especially something that's so fruit forward. People do fruit with stouts, but usually the fruit is not the overwhelming flavour where it is here. So it's Burning Soul. Gotta go local as well. So yeah, that's the beer that I'd have again. Whereas this is interesting to say the least.
Aadil, I think you're going to buck the trend. Are you bucking the trend?
What is the trend?
The trend is liking beers number 1, the lighter beers.
Oh, yeah. I think you are correct, but I am struggling a lot with it. So, the Dank Scopio is a fucking great beer. It masks at 7% in the way you want a West Coast IPA to do. It's just like casually 7%. But also, like I said, what really sold me on this beer was that it's doing a spring thing. It's a West Coast IPA that is like at the same time as being like citrus, openness, etc. It's got that maltiness to fall back on that makes you think, right, it's sunny, but it's not super hot. And so I'm getting both these things out of this. This is an excellent, excellent beer. I would get 2 or 3 rounds of this. So on the Lucy sort of rubric, it's this beer.
Right.
It's this beer. This is the one I will have multiples and probably multiples. Like I'm gonna have 3 of these if I could. hypothetically, if I was in a world where a pub existed where I could have multiple rounds of beers with friends, etc. Yeah.
That's the dream.
But I have to give it to the Verdant Pohjala shipping forecast Baltic Porter because it didn't feel like 10%, except all the things it was doing was still doing a very strong porter thing. And that's exactly what I want. So I paradoxically want a porter that doesn't feel like it's strong but needs to be strong. And this is what this is doing.
Yeah.
It's doing it so well. It's the crispness, it's the straightforwardness, it's the fact that this is like,
yeah, because you drink more porters on here. You drink more porters on here than probably most style of beers, to be honest. You drink
I mean,
and you're not complaint, but it always seems like you are trying to. You want that stronger beer while still retaining those porter sensibilities. So this seems like.
I mean, exactly.
The heavens opened up and said, "Here you go." Stop
exactly. Like it's 10%. It doesn't taste like 10%. But the fact that it's 10% is doing the things I want, which is it's easy to drink. It's that chocolatiness is dark because it's velvety. It's got that texture that you cannot fake with a 5% porter. It's why most of that texture is why I just struggle with being like, it's not that I don't like low ABV stouts and porters, like in principle. It's not like I'm like, low ABV, go die in a fire. It's just like I need that richness needs to come from somewhere, and it comes from the 10%. But this shipping forecast is also not making me feel like I'm drinking the 10%. It's doing both the things I want, which is giving me that velvetiness, giving me that structure, but not making me be like, oh, I'm having a real strong beer. No, this is a beer that I will have 3 of at a pub. This is the beer that I could easily have 3 of, even though I shouldn't have, I guess is the thing, right? Like,
and then walk home.
But I recognize that why I like the shipping forecast isn't because I could have 3 of them. I just will want to have 3 of them.
Sure.
Why I like the dank, depending on which tin you get, is because I can easily have 3 of them, and I can easily get 3 of them, and this is going to be great. So it's kind of hard because this is this dank, beautiful beer from one of my favorite brewers, but what the shipping forecast is doing is exactly what I want from a porter. Perfect. And it's exactly sort of like it's harder than I give credit sometimes, because mostly I whinge that it's like, well, why don't more porters do this? And it's beers like this that let me say, why don't more beers do this? Because this beer does it, right? Like, it has to go, so it has to go to this one.
Good.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
I'm the same as you. Like, I want that stout. It needs the alcohol a lot of the time. Not just to, as you say, I'm having a big boy beer, but to get that fullness and body. So yeah,
nice.
I'm gonna have to seek that out. And may I posit, maybe that's so good because it's Pohjala as well.
Yes,
they're
absolutely.
so good. Yeah. I mean, it's Verdant and Pohjala. Like, of course I bought this beer, and then it didn't disappoint. That's a very good point. It's like, strong brewers make strong beers that are strong.
Yes, using their experience to be able to deliver exactly what you want. Good. That is us then for this week. I'm going to appreciate your time and sign out very, very quickly. I'm at Nova_47. Aadil is at the Omniarch. Lucy is Juicy Lucy 9. You can get everything that we do at outoflives.net, or watch the things that we do occasionally live here on our Twitch channel. Please like, subscribe, share on your podcast viewing service of choice. Open the conversation up, bring your friends in, come and join our Discord, message one of us and we will ping you a link to that, and come and chat to us each and every day if you want to. That is everything, very swiftly and succinctly. I'm going to go and finish this beer and just crawl into a corner somewhere and cry. For this week, we've been tanked up. Bye-bye.
Go into your little cubby.
Bye.
To your corners, lads.
Yeah.
I gotta race like a piss horse. I've been. Ooh.
www.outoflives.net